Warning: before replacing the Lance Tube Gasket, shut off the steam supply line and disconnect the power source to the soot blower. If the steam supply is not completely shut off, the poppet valve should not be open for any reason. Make sure to follow plant lockout procedures. First, remove the 2 1/2-inch hex bolts connecting the clamp plate to the poppet valve plate, and the 4 3/4-inch hex nuts that secure the feed tube clamp plate to the poppet valve. Pull the clamp plate and the feed tube toward the boiler to disengage it from the poppet valve. Remove the feed tube key and 2-piece split ring from the feed tube plug. Remove the old feed tube gasket from the poppet valve. Then push the feed tube into and through the spindle housing so that it is lying completely inside the Lance tube. Note: for removal of the feed tube only, the poppet valve must be removed from the poppet valve plate and the companion flange to the steam supply piping. Once the poppet valve is removed, the feed tube can be pulled out of the spindle assembly. This requires a large amount of room behind the soot blower, so make sure there is ample space. Carefully secure the Lance tube with a hoist. Remove the 6 5/8-inch studs that secure the Lance tube flange to the spindle flange. Lower the Lance and feed tube to clear the carriage, then carefully pull it away from the boiler and out of the wall box. After that, remove the old Lance tube gasket. You'll notice the serial number for the feed tube engraved near its end. To reinstall, slide the feed tube into the Lance tube. Secure the Lance and feed tube hoist and reinsert the tip of the Lance tube through the front plate of the soot blower and into the wall box. Once the Lance and feed tube have been lifted into close proximity of the final location, install a new Lance tube gasket to the Lance tube flange. A small amount of nickel anti-seize can be used to help hold the flange gasket in place while reassembling. Gently slide the feed tube through the spindle. Locate the Lance tube flange in the spindle and reinstall the 5/8-inch studs using 120 foot-pounds of torque alternating in 30 foot-pound increments. It is very important to alternate tightening of the studs to allow for even compression of the gasket in a criss-cross pattern. Inspect the brass feed tube bushing and packing follower for wear and replace if necessary. Slip the feed tube bushing, packing follower, and clamp plate over the feed tube. Verify that the counter bore portion of the clamp plate is facing toward the poppet valve. If using solid ring packing, now install the packing. Reinstall the key and the 2-piece split ring onto the feed tube plug. Install the new feed tube gasket and push the feed tube into the poppet valve. Reinstall the 2 1/2-inch bolts through the clamp plate and the 4 3/4-inch hex nuts to the poppet valve studs. Torque to 110 foot-pounds in approximately 30 foot-pound increments while alternating between nuts. After that, tighten the 2 1/2-inch bolts securely. If using split ring packing, now install the packing. If you encounter any additional issues or have questions about the Lance tube gasket replacement process, you can always contact Clyde Industries personnel for additional information.